Hey Divi Nation, welcome to a brand new Divi use case live stream where each week we show you how to add new design and functionality to your Divi websites. And in this live stream, I'll be showing you how you can stagger Divi columns and modules to create some unique broken grid designs. Don't forget to check out the video description for more information on this use case. And let's go ahead and get started. All right, so welcome everyone. Looks like some of you are already chatting it up over here in YouTube and Facebook. Feel free to let us know where you're coming from, say hi, and it's also important to give me a thumbs up, making sure you can hear me, that the stream's coming in okay. That would be helpful, making sure that we're able to see things and hear things clearly. Hope everyone's having a good day or night wherever you are. Hello, Ender and Julio. All right, Sam, thank you for the thumbs up. All right. Thank you, Ender. Ender is excited, so that's good to hear. Let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for saying hi, everyone. Feel free to ask any questions as we go along. As always, I hope to address any questions if I can, and hopefully we can all learn from each other. And let's go ahead and get started. All right, so as you can see here, I have a little sneak peek of what you might expect to do with this design. And the basic idea is to move some columns, some Divi columns and modules, stagger them in a way that would allow you to add some design elements to a column separately from your design element to a module, and then create some unique broken grid designs. As you can see here, the dark Divi module here, these two are Divi modules. The images actually are the actual column that the module is contained in. We've just simply moved the module outside of the column, and we've also moved the column outside of its normal grid layout. And so I'll show you how to do that, and it actually is very simple to do and opens up some great design opportunities for you. The semi-transparent boxes or squares you see in the background are actually just box shadows that have been added to the modules and the columns. So both on the module and the column level, they each have a box shadow, and they kind of, the semi-transparency kind of blend together to get a nice design. And the basic idea actually can be seen on the blog post that went out this morning that you can refer to as we go along in this tutorial. And let me just pull it up here for you. So here's the blog post here, and you can see like the basic idea is to stagger your modules and your columns. And to do that, you just use the transform translate property to move them. You could use negative margin, but for this tutorial, it's going to be helpful and easy to just use the transform translate. And with Divi's new column options, you can actually use the transform options on the column as well. So that's kind of the highlight here. It opens up some new doors. And then you can just target each, both the column and the module, to add those designs that you need. And for example, you can add a custom background to your column and box shadows, borders, stuff like that. And since it's staggered and off, kind of outside of, or the module I should say is outside of the column, you can see those designs in the column separately from your module. So that's the basic idea. I hope that makes sense. Feel free to look at that blog post a little later if you have any questions. What do you need to get started? So basically, we're going to be all about Divi in this tutorial. So all you need is the Divi theme installed and active, and we'll be building the design from scratch. So whenever you create a new page, just Um, choose the option to build from scratch on, and I'm going to be building on the front end here. And the first thing that we'll need to do, we will be using a couple of images, but those can be basically any image you want, any mock image for this tutorial. And so to get started, we have a brand new section, regular section here, and I'm just going to add a 2-column layout. All right, so that's the first step. I think the first thing I'm going to do is add a call to action module. You can use any module you want, but I'm just going to use the call to action here. And as you can see, the default has a background and things like that. Let me pull this over here. And I'm going to just update the content here a little bit. Give it a new title, just call it Divi module. You can add whatever title you like. I am going to change the background image here to my darker gray. All right, and then let's go ahead and make sure my button shows up. So I'm just going to add a button link. Just going to add a hashtag there to just get it so that the button's visible. And then let me just make my text align to the left. Then I'm going to get my title. Let's just give it a good font. Let's use Bitter. And let's increase the size a bit. I'm going to give my title text size a 50 pixel so you can see it a little better. All right. It's looking good. And I'm just going to skip a few of the more detailed stylings here, just because the real the real meat of this tutorial is in how to, transform or actually move or stagger the columns and modules. And then you can just kind of bring your own creativity to style those however you like. So that's looking good for a good module. Let's see. I'm just going to keep my default button style for now. And then let's go ahead and duplicate my module here. So I'm going to save that. And I could copy and paste it or just duplicate and move it. You can use these the 3-dot here, menu here to make it easier. You can just copy module and then right click and paste the module. So now you have 2 modules in each of your columns. All right, so I need a little bit of room to work here since I'm going to be adding some box shadows and things like that. So I'm going to open up my row settings and give it some spacing. Actually going to give it some top and bottom margin. Let's just do 30% top and bottom. Just give myself a lot of room to work, because I am going to be moving some stuff around, and I just need, you can always adjust the margins back to whatever it is your page needs are, but for now that's just going to give me some room to work. All right, so let's add our column background. So I have 2 columns here, so I'm going to go back to my row settings, and as you can see, the top one here is column 1, and then the bottom one is column 2. I'm going to open up my settings for column 1. I'm going to add a background image. You actually will not be able to see it because it will be sitting behind my dark gray module. Let's just go ahead and pull in this one here. All right. All I'm doing is adding a background image to each of my columns. Did I erase it? No. Okay, so column 2, open up my settings, and let's add a background image for that one. And let's see, what image did I use? let's just go ahead and use the same one. You can use any one you like, but I don't want to throw off the design too much. I'll just use the same one. All right, that's good. And then let's go ahead and add a box shadow to each of my columns. So I've added my background image to each of the columns. Now I'm going to go back to my column 1 settings, and let's go ahead and add a box shadow. And I'm going to use this one here. It's the outer box shadow there. Change my horizontal position to 0 and vertical position to 0 pixels. And then here I'm going to add my spread strength to 100 pixels. There you can see box shadow is one of those great design tricks or techniques to add design without affecting the actual spacing of an element. So in other words, it's not going to push things around or anything. It's just kind of add a design element that's going to stay in place without, adjusting the design elements around it. I love to use box shadows. If you used to seeing not just me, but a lot of our content writers, they add box shadow in the design because it's a really great way to add, especially broken grid type designs and overlapping and things like that. I'm actually going to give my background shadow color a semi-transparency, so I can, it's so that when it does overlap other things, it's not going to be too overbearing and hide elements. So I'm going to take that down even further and paste that in there. So it's kind of like a really light, almost blue tint, bluish gray tint to it. And again, this has been added to my column. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy my box shadow styles, save that one, open up my column 2 settings, go to my box shadow here, and I'm going to paste my box shadow styles. So I gave the same one to my column 2 that I did for column 1. All right, so there you go. So just to recap real quick, I got my 2 columns set up here, a module, a call to action module in each of my columns. And then what I did was I added a background image to each of my 2 columns and added a box shadow to each of my 2 columns. And as you can see, I already have some, some cool overlapping being done by those box shadows for the design. If you are just joining us, I do want to welcome you to this week's Divi Use Case live stream, where each week we show you how to add new design and functionality to your Divi websites. And today I'm showing you how to stagger Divi columns and modules for unique broken grid designs. For more information, please check the video description for a link to the blog post that goes along with this use case. And if you don't have Divi yet, there's a link to our product page as well. So check that out. Let's go ahead and get back to it. Let me check out my comments here. Let's see. Oh, we got some comments here. A lot of hellos. So welcome everyone if you're just joining us. We didn't get too far with, let's see, we were asking about upcoming launches, updates and feature releases. Yes. We are going to be, I know we're releasing some new ones this week, hopefully. And so stay tuned for that. And let's see. Oh, I don't think we have any questions about the article. No, Uncle Social, I don't think we're going to punish people for asking about the release dates. I don't think that would be wise. But it's funny. Jonathan, welcome. Let's go ahead and get back to our tutorial here. All right, so our next step is we're going to be moving our columns. So how are we going to stagger our columns? We're going to use the transform options built into Divi. And just as a side note, there is no custom CSS for this design that we're building. So it's all Divi, which is nice, and it's going to be really easy to implement in your own design. So let's go over to column 1. So back in our row settings, let's go to column 1, and let's come down to go to my design tab, go to transform, pull up my transform options here. And let's go ahead and go to transform translate. And it's important that if you're adding values, I always like to use percentages for my transform translate. I know the default's in pixels, but in general, when you want things to stay in place for responsive designs and things like that, use for transform translate, just go ahead and use the percentage if you can. And if you're going to be adding different values from the X and the Y axis, go ahead and make sure you unlock it by clicking the link here. That way you can add individual values as needed. I think the first X-axis value here is going to be 25%. So I'm going to move it over down, I should say. That's not X, that's Y-axis. Move it down 25%. You see my column has been moved down. And then over on my X-axis, I'm going to move it a negative 25% to the left. And let's go ahead and change it for tablet. So I'm going to open up my responsive tabs here, go to my tablet view. And as you can see, it's being hidden because I moved it over to the left too much. So I'm going to adjust that Y-axis value to a negative 5%. That'll push it back into view on the tablet. All right, so back to desktop. That takes care of my column 1 staggering using transform translate. Let's go to column 2. Go to my transform options, go to transform translate, unclick my link, and let's add basically the opposite. So I want to move it to the right. So I'm going to use negative 25%. Move it up and then to the right by using 25%. Okay. So there, I've moved my columns kind of to the outer portion of my page in anticipation of moving my modules back to the center. And of course, you can move it anywhere you want. That's the beauty of this. You have a lot of control over these transform options. In fact, I don't even have to use set percentages by entering them here. I can just start moving it around as I want using this feature, just kind of the dial or the click and drag my element anywhere I want. Now it's time to stagger my modules now that I've staggered my columns. So I'm going to save this out. And as you can see, this is my row. As you can see, my columns have been moved outside of my row. This is actually going to be kind of like a bonus design feature because I can easily add a background to my row or a box shadow to my row, and it's kind of just going to sit in the background kind of as a unique framing element that's also kind of a broken grid type design. So I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to open up my module. So I'm going to module 1, my first module in column 1, open up my settings, and in a very similar way, I'm going to move it using transform translate. And this time I'm going to add a negative 60%. That would be pixels. So change that to percentage. So that moves it up. And as you can see now, for the first time, we can see our background image that we added to our column. And let's go ahead and make our x-axis here 50%. And there you go. You can see my modules now kind of towards the center of my page. And I'm going to want to move it back on tablet, so I'm going to open up my responsive settings there. Go to my tablet, and then for my x-axis, as you can see, I'm moving it over a little too much. Let's go and make that 10%. There you go. And while I'm here, I can go ahead and add a box shadow to my module as well. So let's go ahead and open up my box shadow. And I'm going to kind of keep it the same design just for this tutorial, but you can easily add, different colors. And if I have time, I'll show you that as well. And let's get my spread strength the same. So basically this is the same box shadow that I gave to the column. But because it is overlapping, you'll see some nice kind of broken grid design elements there with the overlapping, creating more textures in the background there. Let's go ahead and save that out. And actually, I'm going to go back in because to save time, you always want to just copy and paste things over if you can. So I'm going to copy my box shadow styles, bring it over to my second module here over in the second column, and I'm going to paste my box shadow styles there. Oh, looks like it didn't work. I did something wrong. Sorry. No worries. I'll just add it in real quick. So same box shadow to this module. Paste my color in there. And now we need to move it. So let's move our call to action module by using transform translate. Unclick my link there. And I'm going to move it 60% on the y-axis. It's going to bring it down. And then let's go with negative 50% to move it to the left. And that's looking good. So, I mean, looking at this design without knowing how it was built, you probably would assume that those images are actually like image modules or something, but they're actually columns. And this actually does, give you a unique setup to make changes and create some designs more, a lot easier than trying to do this from scratch. So, and I'll show you what I mean. Right now, it looks like I'm pretty much done with my initial design here. I do want to add another element, like I mentioned earlier, to my row. So I'm going to go to my row settings. And since I love box shadows so much, I'm going to add one to my row. And you can see just by doing that, it's adding like a nice frame in the background. So I'm going to, set my horizontal position and my vertical position to 0 pixels. And then I'm just going to add it almost like adding a border, and just use maybe like 20 pixels or something like that. Maybe that's too much. Let's bring it down to 10. You can see that nice little frame it created in the background, which is a nice touch. If you wanted to, you can match the color or give it a completely new color if you want. Let's go ahead and, bring it up. Nice little blue background frame there. Let's go ahead and save that out. Let's check out what that looks like so far. All right, so there you go. It's a nice little broken grid design. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like on tablet. So as I scroll out, bring it down some, and we'll get to tablet view. Oh, looks like I need to change my module here quickly, so let me do that. This is my second module. I forgot to set the tablet transform translate property. So let me do that really quickly. So for tablet, I want it to have negative 10% instead of negative 50. That'll move it over. I think that's right. What does 10% do? Yeah, that's wrong. All right, let's try 5 or -5. Let's do -10 or -15. I like -15. Let's keep that. All right, let's save that out. Refresh, and there it is. Looking good on tablet, and then when we go to more mobile, would be about here. So you can see it does respond nicely on mobile, keeping that broken grid design. And what's cool is, I don't know if you notice, but the image, because it is a background image of a column, it is relative to the content, or the size of the column is relative to the amount of content. So since the only thing in that column is this module, the size of that column will adjust to the same size as the module. So this is a good way to kind of get your design consistent for both of those elements, which I think is a cool bonus there. Let's go ahead and go back here, and just to give you an example, further example of what I mean, I'm going to open up my module 1, and I'm going to increase the padding. So let's add, let's say, I don't know, let's see what I did on my previous example. 20%, yes, so 20% padding on the top. And notice when I did that, the column actually increased in size. In other words, the background image. So the image increased as I increased the size of my module. I'll do it again. I'll add 15%. There you go. And so now, if I exit out, you can see that without doing anything to my column, I have a nice kind of like a, more symmetrical design on the left side, because both of those elements match in size, and this one does as well. So just changing the padding here in the module will kind of add some cool elements. It also increases the size of your row as well. So everything kind of scales with each other for the most part. I could also, duplicate or add more than one module. And because this, for example, this is a column background here. If I duplicate this module, you see that the column, of course, to accommodate for the increased amount of content, has also grown. So the background image has grown. So you have a larger background image, which also adds a nice kind of design effect. And all I need to do is to kind of balance out the design a bit is move this module over using my transform translate wherever I want it to go. Since I'm already locked in using percentages, I can just use my dial here and move it over. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah. And you can see that that's a whole kind of unique twist on the design by only changing like one option or two options, which is cool. All right, let's check on any questions you may have. We had a question from Pradeep, how to add share buttons in Divi. There are your traditional, share, like Divi does have a social share button. I haven't used it in so long, I forgot the name of it. So, social media follow button. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so a social media follow button to add those in there if you like. I think that's what you're referring to. If not, there's also the Bloom plugin um, to do that as well. Let's see. Dan says, great design looks great. Will be nice for a fashion website. Yes. Yeah, as I was building it, I thought, um, it has a whole lot of potential to be a lot of different things. And so it really, once you start getting in there and seeing how easy it is to make the tweaks and the design, uh, you'll see it has a lot of different use cases. In fact, before I go, I just want to show you what it would be like to change up the colors a bit. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take out my spacing, my custom spacing here. I'm going to delete my module, bring things back to where they were. And let's go ahead and let's go to my column here. And I'm going to open up my column settings. And let's go ahead and change the color of my background. My box shadow. That's the one, key main thing you can change to kind of match the design with your own color scheme. So for example, right now I have this color box shadow, but maybe I wanted it to be like green or something like that. So I can make that one green. I can go to this, my right column over there, column 2. Change my box shadow to something else, like a purple, for example. As you can see, it has no transparency, so I'll need to add some transparency there. And then I could add, one to my module, a different color to this module if I wanted to. Let's change that box shadow to yellow. And give it a transparency. There you go. So something like that. You can play with the design however you like. Add a different one for this module. Just bear in mind, like for this one, you're actually overlapping this module with the box shadow. So you may want to take it out altogether or adjust it so it doesn't maybe block the text so much. Or just maybe decrease the box shadow transparency or add more transparency so that it's very, very light. All right, and just a quick tip. As you can see, this module is overlapping that module. You can actually change that. Let's see, there's a number of ways you can change the way things overlap in Divi, but they're all changed by this visibility option here under the Advanced tab. So right now, and you'll see this Z index, you'll just need to increase that. So for example, if I wanted to change this one per se, the module, it's in column 1. So let's go to column 1 settings and let's go over to the visibility, and let's change the index. You can see the default is set to 9. If I change that to 10, oops, wrong way. You can see that that one now overlaps the bottom one. Or I should say column 1 now stands above column 2. So there's a little tip there. Of course, I would need to go in and make adjustments to this position of this module, things like that, so the text doesn't get blocked, but that's the general idea there. All right, let's see if we have any more questions. I'm about ready to wrap things up here. All right. All right, so looks like we've got most of our questions answered. Let's see, one from Catherine. Is there a possibility to change the z-index on hover? Yes, good question. And yes, you can. Um, just just be mindful that, you know, whatever element you're actually doing will um, you'll have to, for example, if you're changing the z-index of a of a column or a row on hover, you just bear in mind that you have to hover over that element for it to change. So yes, it does have the hover option here. So I could change my index on hover. Good question. All right. Thank you, Helga. Um, looks like we're good to go. Let's see. All right. All right, that's all I got for you this week, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe to our blog newsletter, our YouTube channel, and like us on Facebook. That way you don't miss out on any future live streams or freebies we'll be throwing your way. And we will be back here next Tuesday with another use case live stream. But before that, go ahead and check out our next live stream, which is this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is the weekly WP Roundup. And if you want to add your own expertise, knowledge, and share it with our community on our Elegant Themes blog, you can do that. Go ahead and check the video description for more information on how you can add your own unique content. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.